Welcome to Promise Monkey Presents Cypher Crafter. In this very first episode, we want to introduce a process for collaborative world building and go through an exercise of this collaborative world building to create a world in which the future episodes will create characters, ciphers, monsters, and the like. So thank you for joining us in this very first episode. We're excited to get started to share what we have for you. But let's first introduce ourselves. I am Scott Robinson. You may know me in the Cypher community as the former co-host of the Incantations podcast. Also, I'm a frequent GM at uh, Gen Con and Gamehole Con, and have kind of bounced around the Cypher community really since its origins, and have seen some waves of people coming in and out of the Cypher community. And I'm now excited to be a more active and kind of visible component of the community. In terms of my personal background, I'm a college professor, though I have decades of experience in gaming. I actually started RPG gaming in the first grade in 1980. And I might share that story at another time. In retrospect, I was clearly being hazed, but I loved it anyway. I had no idea as a first grader that they were actually probably just making fun of me the entire time, but I loved it, and and it has been a part of my life to varying degrees really since that time. Obviously through that period, often playing Dungeons and Dragons. Uh, in fact, playing Dungeons and Dragons with my co-host and partner, who will introduce herself in a moment, in the late '80s and early '90s. Also played other systems, Vampire, Rifts. Yes, technically we played Rifts, and various other Palladium games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was a little easier to play than Rifts, and have kind of bounced around through various systems and the like, but really felt like I found a home system with Cypher System, and that in the community around Cypher System. So I'm looking forward to giving back. But with that, I'll turn the mic over to my co-host, Jen Ross.
Hi, I'm Jen Ross. I am also a big fan of Money Cook Games and Cypher. I am a college professor, like my partner, and I have more experience teaching really than game. But I did play my first D&D game in seventh grade, and then I didn't play again until I met these guys in my senior year of high school. And then from then on, I've played multiple systems. I have not played as many as Scott here, but I have played Vampire. I've played and run Vampire and some stuff for the World of Darkness. I have played Rifts once. And I've played a lot of Free League games as well as Dungeons and Dragons many times. And I don't feel like I was comfortable ever really running games until Cypher System and reading their system and feeling really comfortable and being supported by the community. So if you've seen me, you might have seen me at Gen Con where I've run games for Monty Cook or Game Hall.
Great. And we do have a third co host. He sends his regrets. He had a family crisis pop up this evening and was not able to join us for the recording, but expect to see him on future weeks, and that is Rustin Coons. He was a co editor of some of the last few issues of Cyphercrafter. And actually, the three of us wrote the Zuomeng recursion that was published in Cyphercaster, and had kind of some contributions there. So he's been someone who's been contributing content to the Cypher system for a while, and is looking forward to join us when he can to continue to do so. And the motivation for this project is to help GMs in particular become comfortable creating, especially improvisational creation, at their table. Uh, the Cypher system is the easiest system I've ever had to run, and part of that is because it is so easy to improvise a new challenge, a new creature, a new obstacle. And the GM intrusion system even makes pacing of those created elements simpler. And so we wanted to help share kind of our love of the system and what we have found very effective in that system with others who, many of which when talking at cons and the like, are not as comfortable creating their own material, especially if they come from a background in other more mm, process oriented systems. I understand the reluctance to just improvise a monster for, say, a D&D 5e game. Though the advice now is it's always an ogre. You just make everything an ogre and then give it some spin and flavor. And the funny thing is that advice is basically coded into the DNA of the Cypher system. So we want to just show and help people grow more comfortable with this sort of improvisation, so they'll be less reluctant to
Try out new things.
to try out new things, to GM for the system, and that they'll sort of which will then require less time in preparation, which makes again it a more attractive enterprise to be a GM for a group if you're not having to spend 2 to 3 hours of prep for every in-game hour, which is one of the estimates I've seen for 5e and for a lot of other more technical systems. So the more ease you have with the creation of these components, the better. I think the more attractive it will be for GMs solving the GM problem that they talk about so much in Dungeons and Dragons in particular. That being said, we may have the opposite problem in MCG. It's very popular with GMs, so almost everyone is a GM, but that actually creates a different dynamic at the table where even when you're not the nominal GM for a session, there's a lot you can do to contribute to world building, and that's also a theme that we're going to pick up through our entire show.
I would like to speak to the time thing, right? When I was doing Monarchies of Mal for our group, yes, which is somewhat like D&D 5th edition. It's not entirely, but somewhat like it. It was taking me quite a deal more time to prep than when I do something for Cypher system.
Absolutely. Monarchies of Mal is a modified, simplified 5e, but it still has a lot of that preparation requirement.
Or Call of Cthulhu.
A Call of Cthulhu as well, something that we've both played lately. If we occasionally jump, it's because our third substitute co-host, my cat Balder, is currently clawing at us. Hopefully he'll make an appearance, because I think everyone will like our little Balder. But reaching for him is not the best strategy when this 1-year-old kitten has decided it is the time of blades. So today in particular, I wanted to illustrate something called a session -1. A lot of people have heard of session zeros. They become strong, almost universal recommendations in TTRPGs. And typically that means when you get together with your whole group to create characters. Well, I read a great book over the winter break. Don't worry about reading this, but I'll tell you more. It's the GM's Handbook of Collaborative Campaign Design. I picked it up at Half Price Books. I've been to several Half Price Books over the holidays. It's a great way to avoid spending time with relatives. And at every one, I saw copies of this book. So it's available for people out there. I picked it up on a lark, but I was really impressed by it. It is entirely about how to engage players at the table in world building, not just reacting to a GM story, not just the DM's narrative where you have occasional dice rolls, but instead giving players continuous ownership in an evolving campaign world, so that they feel more connected, that they have greater stakes and with that world, and all of that just feeds into greater memories coming out of the table. So to illustrate the session -1, we're going to create our world for an actual play that will continue through this series of streams. So a typical episode will involve a short introduction, followed by the creation of some element of the game. Maybe a new cipher, maybe a new monster, maybe a new character focus. There's a lot of different things you can create within the cipher system. And we'll illustrate one of those each week, and then conclude with a short actual play that demonstrates the use of that element in a game. So if we create a monster, we will actually have our campaign PCs confront that monster, or use that cipher, or create a character with this new focus or something along those lines. So there'll be short, maybe 15 minutes actual plays at the end to illustrate that something you build in the top of the hour can be used in the bottom of the hour very smoothly. But to get to that, we have to actually build the world. So we'll start with this session -1. Again, I want to offer three thanks, actually. The first is to Mike Shea, the lazy DM. I'm using his Notion template, as you can see on your screen, to help organize material for these campaigns. I will also say that his DM and GM advice is fantastic and along a similar spirit as what we are talking about. He is a strong proponent of using prep wisely, and moving towards being able to prep quickly for your for a D&D game, or he plays some other systems. But in all of these cases, he's a strong proponent of smart prep as opposed to extensive prep. And so I can give the strongest recommendation for his lazy DM books that he has available. Again, the book that motivates the session -1 system is the Game Master's Handbook of Collaborative Campaign Design by Jonah and Tristan Fishel. They also have a companion book called The Game Master's Handbook of Proactive Role Playing that I may mention occasionally. That's a lot about how GMs can listen to what the players want in order to create a world in which they will engage more closely. And finally, I want to thank Ilsaveta Stoichieva for our intro music, which is available on Pixabay Music. But with no further ado, we're going to jump into the session -1 system. This first step is to define a genre statement. This is usually a one-sentence description of the genre that we anticipate building our world within. So that might be a fantasy world where that is populated by small islands that pirates will sail between. Something on that scale of what the genre statement may be. One thing we've previously agreed to is that this campaign will be set in the strange, because that is a great setting in which we can explore different types of genres for our different creations.
My personal favorite.
Yes, you might notice I've got my original Strange Kickstarter T-shirt. I'm a big fan. But beyond that, we also want to provide, want to situate that within a genre. So, how would you describe the genre of the strange?
I would call it science fiction. I would say that the main area it's science fiction. It is contemporary to now, and it has more technology and weirdness than our current world. Though saying weird, all things are relative.
So I'll start with, if this is acceptable, a science fiction setting of contemporary weird technology and multiversal exploration. How about?
That's kind of what I meant by weird technology, but yeah, definitely multiversal exploration.
Yeah, and I think that gets us to a statement of what we'll be doing. We're going to be hopping between worlds. It's contemporary, but it's not realistic. It's contemporary with some non-contemporary technology.
Yeah.
But it all kind of fits within science fiction. Once you have a genre statement, then you move on to defining some of your favorite media that you think might inspire the setting. And so it recommends going around the table 2 to 3 times. For us in this illustration, we'll kind of go around twice and mention books, manga, movies, comic books, art, anything that you believe is a media example that might provide inspiration for creating the setting. Do you have one you'd like to start with?
Well, when you say multiversal, the first thing that comes to my brain is Stargate.
We are currently on a Stargate SG-1 rewatch, so this does not surprise me.
But, I mean, you said world hopping, and you immediately think I'm going to dial up. And...
Yes, and I think it's a great inspiration. I'm only teasing you because we're literally watching an episode about 2 hours ago. For inspiration, let's see. I want to really focus on the Earthbound side of it. So I'm going to actually put Mission Impossible. For the espionage elements, I would like to include in the setting. And see, one more that you'd like?
So I'm really torn between a favorite movie and a favorite book here. So I'm going to say one of my favorite book series is Black Sun Rising by C.S. Friedman. If you have not read this and you enjoy your science fiction, fantasy, and horror in a blender, then this is for you. Those are my favorite things, like C.S. Friedman and Dan Simmons. Highly recommend.
And I'm going to add the Alien universe. In fact, I'm going to say specifically Alien Earth.
See, and I was going to say Alien, so perfect.
Yes. Now, we have these for inspiration, but what you do then is you circle back and you go, we each take a turn and go to our favorites, and we add something, what specific about that do you want to make sure is included? And so for Stargate, it could be all sorts of things. I don't want to like seed your brain with the answer, but there's a lot of different aspects of that you might want to emphasize in particular.
Yeah, I know I mentioned multiversal exploration when I brought it up, but one of the things I find really intriguing about Stargate is the political systems on the different worlds and how they interact and try to build alliances while dealing with external threats.
Multiversal alliances. Mm-hmm. That's cool. That is not what I would have guessed, which is the fun part of this exercise.
I mean, I like the science. I like the science in Stargate, even the bad science, but it's about the alliances and the political intrigue.
Excellent. And for Mission Impossible, I'm going to say espionage, like high-tech espionage. People are always trying to do bad things with tech and steal tech, but then the Mission Impossible force uses not realistic tech in order to have fun heists and things like that. And so I think high-tech espionage and heists,
heisty feel,
would be a fun component to include in the setting. Now, what about Black Sun Rising from C.S. Friedman?
So in Black Sun Rising, you have humans who've gone to a different world, got way beyond where they expected to go, and found this place that was utterly different and responded to their thoughts and their dreams and their fears. So they're literally creating the world out of what they dream or think or focus on.
There's people, maybe?
Yeah.
And this resonates with The Strange in that recursions are the product of kind of the condensation of shared consciousness of different fictional worlds and the like, or even conceptual worlds. And so it's really the connection between living in a world where you can think about something and it is created, not necessarily in front of you, but there's a world somewhere where your dreams are coming true. And that's a cool way to think about what's going on with the creation of recursions in The Strange.
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah. The aspect of Alien Earth I was most interested in wasn't just the little eyeball, the terrifying little eyeball alien they introduced in Alien Earth, but really the world kind of determining power of corporate oligarchs. That there are
profit and science.
Yes. Let's call it corporate tech oligarchs.
Yeah.
And not teach tech. Um, tip to everyone: never type in for everyone to see. You'll never enjoy the experience. Uh, Right. So in Alien Earth, Earth is more or less controlled not by nation states. It is
For corporations.
it's from four corporations, with some upstart corporations trying to force their way into that rarefied air of the oligarchy. And I kind of like that aspect. In if we have these corporate tech oligarchs that maybe some of the few that know about the existence of strange technology, and of recursions and the like.
That
And
works with Stargate too and the NID.
yeah, that's the exercise is supposed to accomplish: a convergence of ideas that might not look very similar at the start, but when you emphasize what aspect of each is why it is one of your favorites, you start to converge towards a shared space for your setting. So again, usually you'd go in your table 2 or 3 times and to do this, but for illustration purposes, there's just two of us. We're doing a truncated version, but you can see the steps and how this works. And I think it's even working in the sense of demonstrating that convergence towards some boundaries of the setting, or in this case, not as much boundaries as necessary inclusions for the setting, things that we really want to have. And that lets us move to another level of detail, and that's world inspiration. World inspiration are elements that exist in the world that we just define to exist in the world. Um, this can be examples from the original book include in A Song of Fire and Ice, the unreliable seasons and long seasons of summer and long seasons of winter, and that's a key part of the story, and that's just a fact of the world. And another example, let's see, in Star Wars might be we don't really want to get into factions yet, but the existence of a force of the universe that allows people to do things that normal humans can't do. Without creating a Jedi Order, the notion of force sensitivity and force powers is something that we could pull as world inspiration. Those are examples of the sorts of facts of the world we want to get to in this stage of world creation. Is there something you would like to start with? I keep putting you on the spot with the first one.
So I'm still not sure what I'm going for with world inspiration.
Well, I'll go with one. And I think that a U.S. It's too close to a faction. A fact of the universe might be that stories that are more popular create recursions that are larger and closer.
Oh, okay.
Closer
like
meaning
that.
more easily accessible. So it's much easier to get to Oz when people have talked about it for 130 years. There's a big movie out that uses the setting, and so it's suddenly that recursion. It might change and evolve. Even like the Wicked version of the recursion might be very different than the 1950s version of the Oz recursion.
But by thinking about it, we're giving it power.
But the more people think about it, we're giving it power, which both makes it larger and draws it closer and more accessible to those who are adventuring through the strange.
Let's see.
This can also be locations, like, ooh, I really want a waterfall of diamonds, or something along those lines.
Sounds very Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Like the Sapphire Falls. Was that what it was?
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like
I think
that.
there's been more than one.
I know. There's, 60, 70 years of it.
Yes.
So I would like for the oligarchs to have kind of split up continents or whatever, maybe worlds.
Dividing the earth and focal recursions.
Mhm. So they're the culture more than current culture.
Yeah, and so there might be
Culture's more defined by the company than it is by where you're from or your our allegiances now.
right. And so if we have like one oligarchy, corporate oligarchy that's based on fungal technology,
Yeah. No,
then
I was
all
kind of thinking of Orcs and Crake with the even the universities being part of the company. And,
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah.
everything's part of a company. And then like if there's a focal or a fungal oligarch, a technology oligarchy, then really they'll have multiple recursions as well as areas of the earth that they may be very prominent in South America.
Right.
But both those recursions and the South America as reflected in this setting would then have a fungal feel to it. So the oligarchs are going to be imposing aspects of their own technology, their own values, their own goals on various recursions and various parts of the earth to varying degrees. Does that sound
That
fun?
sounds cool.
Okay, so a third I would like is I do want governments to be aware of recursions. They have their own
What governments?
various. I didn't really list all of them, but like in Stargate, you've got predominantly the U.S. and Russia being involved in Stargate operations. They both have Stargates at different points in the show, and we might not. Maybe it's U.S., Russia, Brazil, and Nigeria. We can decide how we want to do that exactly, but the governments are aware. They have their own kind of special forces, kind of like SG1.
SG1.
Yes. And they know others know. So they are aware that other such operations exist and that they're in sort of a competitive environment for finding new recursions and then extracting resources from those recursions or shaping those recursions or adopting technology from those recursions. Uh, so it is not just the corporate oligarchs, but it also has this governmental component as well.
Okay. Okay. So then it wouldn't be unusual for a government or an oligarch to have a team that would do heist to these recursions to get tech or information or resources that would be very useful to them in our world.
So the governments and the firms have a series of competing special forces for exploring recursions
And exploiting them.
exploring and exploiting. Yeah, it's a great. That's again helping define our tone quite a bit. And direct action against other forces on Earth. So it might not be all that uncommon to have operations trying to undermine other governments and firms from these teams.
Well, I mean, when I'm thinking about the Alien Earth show, or Alien in general, I'm thinking of corporations wanting to get the thing first. And with Stargate, it was trying to get the thing that would help us defend. With Mission Impossible, it's trying to get the thing that's going to expose everything. And with Alien Earth, it's trying to get the thing that's going to give us that corporate edge, right? So all those things could be. So it could be resources. It could be very cool ciphers or something like that.
Excellent. Okay, the next component of world creation is we kind of intruded on this a little bit, which always happens when we do this. Are specific factions present in the world, and with a faction, you want to define both what the faction is, its identity, but in particular its goals, because the factions are going to be the basis for conflict in the setting. And so defining what the factions are helps you see where the flashpoints of conflict will be, which is where the most interesting storytelling is going to come from. So I think it's back to your turn. But we've kind of led to some of these, right? Like
Right.
we towed right up to the line of faction creation, but now we want something a little more specific, like a specific oligarch or a oligarchic corporation or a specific government or something along those lines.
Hmm. Well, you've got oligarchs, so you've got to have competing corporations trying to get the cool thing, whatever that would be. In our current time, it's currently like AI and nonsense like that, which people have blown up to what it's not. And then in the future, like an alien, it's getting that new bioweapon. So it could be something like as nice as looking for cures and new ways to improve human health to something nefarious purposes of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or just exploiting the ubiquitanium or whatever for, I'm joking, ubiquitum or raritanium or whatever nonsense, unobtainium,
Unobtainium.
right?
Yes.
Whatever nonsense you want to talk about, that thing you're going to exploit the other cultures for because you need it.
So is there a faction that might be targeted at a very specific resource that might be fun to include? Like someone that's all the I don't know. Maybe it may be all about finding um, rare books, books that were never actually written on Earth that somehow have been dreamed into existence on another world.
Oh, the Aziraphale faction.
Oh well, yeah, and we can kind of that they can be. This might be an example of a firm or a group that's not governmental, and maybe it's fun to play with them in part because they're not militaristic. So let's say like a non-militaristic group of explorers seeking to find copies of lost or never existing books from Earth history. And we can even call them the Azera. I don't remember how to spell Azeraphale.
It's been a while since I read it. I think it's with an I, but that's close.
Azeraphale, close enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they call themselves the Azeraphale. An example might be Aristotle's lost book on
Comedy.
On comedy
From Umberto Eco's Name of the Rose.
right? Which is a book that we do know did exist. And people wonder if some of the shape of Western civilization has been it was shaped by the absence of his analysis of comedy when we have his analysis of other forms of plays, for instance. So it's been a highly sought after book, and when it's rumored to exist, it sort of becomes the most interesting book on the planet until every time people realize it's gone. That all of the stories of it existing have been wrong every time we've had them. But that gives us kind of a low stakes faction.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go in the other direction and just go with straight inspiration from SG1, Stargate SG1, and a U.S. military operation to collect new technology from recursions. And this exists within the strange setting, so I'm just going to kind of pull it in for emphasis. This is the Office of Strategic Recursions. We don't know yet whether this wants to be a PC group or it's going to be opposition.
Right,
but
right.
We're putting these together. What other groups might you like? We don't really have a corporate group yet.
Right. What would corporations be interested in? So that was what I was saying earlier, that as from my background, I always think, oh, well, let's go out and look for cures. Let's go out and look for new medical technology.
Ooh, medical tech.
Things to enhance and improve and maybe lengthen human life.
Cures and technology to lengthen human life and there's plenty of storytelling potential in that. Do you want to
including
name
when it goes horribly wrong.
Oh yeah, always.
Um,
Famous biologist or health-related name you'd like to just use at, to honor?
The McClintock Corporation. She doesn't get enough love, Barbara McClintock.
That's spelled McClintock, right?
I am saying that right? I am thinking of the right person. I'm not confusing.
Yeah, the geneticist.
The geneticist,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I had to ask. I took migraine medication earlier. The that's the way to spell it.
Okay. If you aren't aware of the contributions of Barbara McClintock, I recommend you looking into it. She was a geneticist who worked at Cold Spring Harbor most of her career, I believe.
Most of her career.
And
came up with the idea of jumping genes, which people ignored for years before.
Like 2 decades.
They were, until it was rediscovered and a Nobel Prize was given, and they went, oh, she talked about this before. So, yeah. But she is recognized.
She has now become recognized after decades of resistance to her recognition.
That's right.
But now she is considered a hallmark biologist and geneticist of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a kind of low-stakes, non-governmental, non-corporate faction. Let's have a faction that is actually opposed to all of this recursion mining. They don't have to necessarily be like a Luddite faction, but one that's deeply concerned about that this is going to cause the end of the world and will take direct action to oppose that. So let's say a group that recursion technology will end the world or empower us to end the world. It's like something metatextually more powerful than a nuclear bomb.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a group that's concerned about this could be a Luddite, low tech sort of group, or they could be a group like the Tolan and Stargate, who are super advanced and have seen this before and are worried that we're just going to destroy ourselves over it.
Yeah, which of those directions do you want to start with?
I'm not sure. This was your idea. So
yeah, I think I would like they're technologically savvy, but they're worried about these new types of technologies.
Oh, yeah.
So they are not necessarily like Luddite and technology opposing technological change. Though the story of Luddites has been greatly exaggerated. In our high school textbooks. But it is true that they were worried about the disruptive consequences of technological change, and in particular the displacement of workers in industries that would be closed down because of technological change. Well, this just takes it a step further. Right. They're not just worried about economic dislocation, though, heck, that's something fair to be worried about. They're worried about someone bringing back a disease, someone bringing back a bomb, someone bringing back a virus, like a computer virus that accidentally ends our world.
The Oppenheimer group.
Ah, yes. I love that name. How about a couple more of these?
Okay. So,
I think we just waste... Oh, okay. Think about that. I want to check something, and I think...
What happened? Cattail.
YouTube's not getting this.
It's not getting any of this?
No.
Okay, well.
Is it okay? Can we start over?
Start over?
Well, it might be too late. But we're recording. Boom! Saved by recording. Okay.
So it's not streaming, but it
we're not
recording.
We thought we were streaming to YouTube, but I just checked and YouTube had canceled out on us. So we apologize for those who checked in at 10:30. We did actually start at 10:30, but the YouTube connection broke. The good news is we recorded on our side, so we'll at least be able to post this tonight.
And here's the fluffy monster.
Oh, yes. This is our temporary co-host who's stepping in for Rustin. This is Balder. He is a 1-year-old Ouija and full of violence and blades.
And fluff.
And fluff.
He's a very sweet boy.
And hopefully not typing. Okay, sorry for that interruption. I just did a check and realized there was no YouTube going. Do you want to do just 2 more of these, and we'll call that a night?
Sure, 2 more factions. I would like a group that is aware that the recursions are shaped by our thoughts, and
Ooh.
so maybe a cult, maybe a religious group that would like to shape our world or other recursions or what's available or closer to us.
To bring their...
To
You want to go straight into cult and say to bring their like god to life?
Oh, that would be even more fun. Let's do that. To
Okay.
bring their god to life.
With or without?
Yeah.
Yes.
They've got to be the esoteric code of something.
Esoteric welcome.
Esoteric welcome. I like that. Esoteric openers, if you want to go with the Last Knees Lonesome Night in October.
Openers?
Okay.
And this was specifically a concept from Zelazny's Lonesome Night in October?
Yeah.
Okay. Not exactly the esoteric openers, but the notion of openers. That's fun to play with.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go in a similar direction in that I want to go to just a raw oppositional group. In this case, I want a group that is from a recursion. And there is one in the strange setting that will help us anchor us in the strange setting.
Excellent.
It's called the Karam. And the Karam are a group that want to... of people, or we'll say people from the recursion of Rook. We'll get into describing this a bit later, but it's basically a little micro recursion of a spaceship that has crashed into the space in which Earth resides or floats in a strange. So we don't really see it, but it's really close to us in recursion dynamics. But the Karam believe that the ship is still seaworthy or strange-worthy, and that they could go maybe even return to their home planet if they would just get rid of this pesky Earth that is anchoring them down. So they are basically trying to destroy the Earth to set themselves free.
I should say that the one that I mentioned before, the recursions, the esoteric openers, is also from Ursula K. Le Guin's Lathe of Heaven.
How's that?
Yeah, because the using a dreamer to shape the world was Lathe of Heaven.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, very briefly, we can say, based on these factions, what sort of conflicts would we expect to motivate encounters, adventures, campaigns in this world?
So conflict over what kind of knowledge we want out there with those books.
And so what type of conflict is that? I'm just like, what kind of...
Like writ large, that's cultural, religious sort of...
I guess monitoring the... who knows about recursions?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And limiting the exposure of these technologies.
There we go.
To the uninitiated. I see conflicts over access to a new recursion that may be, is somehow a resource or is of interest to these different.
Absolutely.
So they're like a
Oligarchs or corporations trying to keep the cool stuff for themselves. Be it that new energy source
or new biotech.
or something really tasty.
Yeah. And maybe
Poplars. No, we're kidding.
Now I really want to, but I don't quite remember the Poplar song, or the Fishy Joe's song.
If you promise not to sue, I make a point.
She does more of it than I do. Okay, and then the last conflict is going to be control of the PC's organization and its principles in exploring recursions. So some might really be, push it more militaristic, or you might push it more, cultural in some ways. And this going back again to like Stargate, it's how much do you emphasize technology acquisition versus alliance building, versus knowledge building about the universe and everything else. And so we already have those conflicts, and we could have others, but that gives us a sense that if we were prepping this campaign, we'd say, okay, we already have some ideas. Where would there be conflict over access to a new recursion? Well, we can build a story around how our group. Yeah, there's Baldur again. Let's see. I can help. There we go. Our group is either just found the recursion, or we did just find the recursion, but we also found out that we're not alone, and so there's a bit of a chase or competition between our team and one of these other teams, whether it's the cult or the corporation or another government or even the book hounds, the Zerafel. It lets us figure out already how we might shape different adventures. But we hope that this is helpful for you to see how you can build a campaign using the session -1 system. And in the next week, when we hopefully will actually get YouTube working, we will create characters for this campaign. And we'll illustrate how to create those characters using the new Cypher playtest rules. So tune in then to see examples of group character creation, but with a little sneak preview of some of the material from the Cypher Player's Guide that's currently in kind of the playtest and development phase. But I hope everyone enjoyed themselves and that we will be able to talk to you again soon. Have a good night.
Thanks.